Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Town of Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission to order Monday, October 24th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here in the Sine Community Room and via Zoom as well. We will begin. Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As always, under citizens' comments, we ask citizens making comments to state their name and address, to stick to a 3-minute speaking time, and to address the comments to the chair in a civil and respectful manner. We will begin with the roll call. Randy Blackmore.
John Rice.
David Plowski.
Ray Williams.
Jane Salsey.
John Dealey. Mike Kroger.
Ellie Langlois.
And Joseph Brody Brown. Item 3, public hearing, continuation of public hearing from October 20th, 2022 on Planning and Zoning Commission application 22-34. The only action we'll take on this hearing is to set a continuation date. Chair is going to suggest 2 dates to us, I believe.
Yeah, well, there are 2 options in the same week. Cindy and I looked at we work backwards from a posting date. So it looks like the best date would be Monday, the 14th of November, with an alternate of Thursday, the 17th. And I say that the Monday is the better and the Thursday is the alternate because I believe there are members of the commission who have challenges on Thursday. The only downside to the 14th is that the ZBA is on the ZEO is on vacation, but you said you were going to be dialing in.
I can dial in.
Yeah.
The ZBA is doing that night. They will have.
So we would have to go to the alternate location in the library again.
What was it? 2 dates again?
Monday, the 14th or Thursday, the 17th of November.
I will not be here.
Either.
Wow. Do you want to do a show of hands for preference and majority rules? I mean, I don't know how else you do it.
I think that's probably the way to go. Yeah, and then I guess if you have no preference, if you're no preference, if you're able to be here, both or neither, do a no preference. Okay. So the dates are the 14th and the 17th. Who would prefer the 14th? I'm sorry.
Either or.
Okay, so we'll do no preference.
Well,
separately.
no, actually, why don't you do, because then they can raise their hand both times and
Perfect.
we'll.
So if you are available the 14th. And if you are available the 17th.
So by 1, the Monday is the preferred date, 7 to 8. I think so. We can do it again if you want. I counted 8 the first time and 7 the second time.
I actually think.
Was it the other way around? Oh, for God's sake. Do it again.
I'm sorry. The 14th.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The 17th.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 if it's the ZEL, but it's 8 and 8.
8 and 8.
So fantastic.
You don't have to.
That's true.
We'll have to move on without them.
Well, I can text at least one of them. I don't have Kai's number.
I didn't raise my hand for either one, so, because I'm not gonna be here the 14th, so. But if the consensus is everybody wants to be here the 14th.
You can't be here at 14.
No, yeah.
That was the vote coming out 8.
That's why I said,
Because
because I
some
didn't
people were
vote.
available for both. And some were
First,
different.
everybody.
And he didn't, so if you voted for the Thursday, that would break the tie.
Are you available?
No, the people that are here get the vote, because you know, what, you do your little Google things here, and I never get them to those Google things. I'm never notified of it.
Are you available?
The
the
17th, I am, yeah.
Okay, so that would be 9 to 8, Kira.
It would be, okay, all right, so Thursday, the 17th it is. Cross this out.
Library?
No, we can.
Not necessarily, I'll have to double check the schedule. Assume it will be here unless I discover that there's a conflict.
So I will move to continue the public hearing for application 22-34 to Thursday, November 17th at 7 PM. Location tentatively here in the community room, but subject to change if necessary. Thank you, Mr. Linky. Seconded by Mr. Lenky.
Board of Finance, next Thursday, the 17th.
Okay, so we can assume that it will be at the library.
I'll amend my motion to schedule it at the library. Do it second as amended.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lenky. And thank you as well. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, a yes vote will continue, a no vote will take.
Wow, that was quick.
Mr. Blackmer.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes, Josh.
Dave Pelkey, yes.
Elton Hill, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Jane Sophie, yes.
John B. Michael, yes.
Alan Langway, yes.
Joseph Burton Brown, yes.
I have a question.
Mr. Brown.
Is this for the first part of the meeting, or the citizens' comments?
No.
Continuation. Well, okay, but if both meetings were not posted, we have to redo. both.
The first meeting, the 13th, was that posted?
Posting
No.
for one public hearing.
So the first one was.
There were no,
Okay.
there were not any postings for that public hearing for last Thursday. It was a continuation of the public.
Folks, and just so the online audience knows, we are working with a different system we're trying tonight. So thank you, Valerie. Valerie is saying that the online audience can't hear super well. We do have a new ambient mic on the table, so just please be sure to use your outdoor voice.
She can hear it.
She just sent a message saying that she can't.
On the diaphragm, friends.
That's right. Project.
Item 4, no action on the public hearing. Item 5, citizens' comments. The first person who has signed up, and I'm reading upside down, is, I believe, Teresa Stacy.
Yeah.
If you could approach the microphone.
I have some pictures that I'd like to show you while I'm speaking.
Just your name and address for the record.
Teresa Stacy, 28 Main Street. And I've lived at 28 Main Street with my husband, which is across the street from 28 Main Street where Jill and G's Bistro is located. I've lived in my home since 1986. In that time, I've never had any complaints with any business, bakery, or cafe that has occupied 27 Main Street. I have no issues with the hair salon that occupies the basement level of 27 Main Street, and I have no issues with Jill and G's Bistro as far as their normal business operation of serving brunch, lunch, and dinner. I do, however, have a complaint when the bistro turns into a live entertainment venue and additional amplification is used. The entertainment is set up just inside the front door, behind the window on the right side. The live entertainment started in February. The live bands continued occasionally in March and April. In May, we became frustrated with the live band situation. We were trying to relax and watch TV, and all we could do was focus on the background noise of the constant thumping of loud music of the live band. Even with all of our windows closed, we could still hear the music. I contacted the bistro through Facebook private messenger as I wanted to have their response in writing. I asked if going forward if they could do something about the noise level. The response from the bistro was they were permitted to have live music until 10 p.m. and would continue to do so. However, after looking through the Planning and Zoning Commission notes sent to me from the Zoning Committee, from November 22nd, 2021, meeting regarding the bistro. It doesn't look like they were ever permitted to have live entertainment, which they have had on an ongoing basis since February. After my initial contact of messaging the bistro, the bands were few and far between throughout the summer months. We put up with the noise because we thought there was a permit in place allowing this. The bistro recently posted a live entertainment schedule, and starting with the end of September through most of October and going into November, they are having live entertainment. I feel the noise would be too much every week, so I contacted the zoning department to find out what I needed to do to have the bistro's live entertainment permit reviewed, and asked if I had any say in this matter. I feel I have a right as a homeowner that I should have a say as the noise level of a business so close to my home, as the distance from one side of the street to the other is only 26 feet. I get up early in the morning, work hard all week, and just want to enjoy the peace and quiet of my home, especially on the weekend. I want to be able to watch TV in my home without 3 hours of band music or comedians as a constant distraction in the background. I want to be able to go to bed when I want and not be stressed out tossing and turning that I can't fall asleep due to the noise after 10 o'clock when the band or comedy show shuts down. People are constantly opening and closing the front door. When the doors are open, the noise increases even more, and sometimes the door is not shut. This area isn't like a downtown restaurant area of a city. This is literally right outside my front door of my home and my bedroom window. As I stated earlier, I have no issues with the normal food operation of the bistro. My request of the zoning committee is to limit the bistro to food service only and to stop the bistro from having any live entertainment such as karaoke, comedy, and live bands, or any events where additional amplification is used. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Any other citizens' comments at this time?
Bill Warner, Lower Davis Road. I'd like to know why Jill's Bistro has been allowed to have live entertainment when I've gone through all the meeting minutes of the meetings that I haven't been, but I've been here at all the meetings since the bistro is open. And she's never applied for a special permit for an entertainment license per your regulation. And I know at least one member of your staff has actually entertained them. And I would think that she would be aware that whether or not they had an entertainment license.
Mr. Warner. Good evening, Ms. Knight.
Sally White, 308 East Thompson Road. These are comments on procedure and points of order. At the last meeting, you were online participating in the meeting and participating in the votes, but you weren't chairing the meeting. And throughout the meeting, I did not see any evidence of your chairmanship having been delegated to the vice chair. That would be a normal procedure to do. And those procedures are there in order to inform the public as to what is happening and why, and so forth. And I think that should be corrected and spoken to. The other matter is the staff forum that was held on October 13th. It is listed on the website as a commission meeting, but it was not a commission meeting. And it would seem to be inappropriate for staff to speak for elected officials. To give an example, it might be as though Marie was speaking for the Board of Selectmen. But to have a forum where staff is talking about proposed regulations that you all discussing and will be voting on, I find highly irregular and inappropriate. Cindy is the only person who has authority, and that's authority for present existing regulations. These are proposed regulations that you all have been discussing. But I don't see any basis for doing that. And I don't think it should be listed as a commission meeting. I think it should be struck from the record as a commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments at this time? Or anyone in the Zoom audience?
If you're in the Zoom audience and you'd like to make a citizen's comment, the raise hand function is best, but if you can't do that, you can simply unmute yourself. Looks clear.
Okay, thank you. Item 6, applications, there are none. Item 7, applications received after the agenda posted, there are none. Item 8, old business, it's none. Item 9A, review of road construction standards and subdivision regulations update with J&D Civil Engineering. Planchettes.
Thank you. I have a couple of visual aids. First of all, thank you to the commission for retaining J&D Civil Engineers to work on the update of the road standards for the subdivision regulations.
You're not reading all those tonight, are you?
Didn't we tell you?
I'm gonna take a longer nap this afternoon.
She's gonna stand on those.
Great idea.
Taller than you, John B.
Not really.
But I did think it was useful, because not everybody's in construction, to go over just some of the background, how these regulations come about, where do civil engineers, and towns, come up with these standards. So the first thing I would like to show you, this is the nation guide. And this is the standard for geometric design for the whole United States, put out by the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. It's a policy on geometric design of highways and streets. So basically, geometric design is design vehicles, pavement and shoulder widths, steepness, which is the vertical slope, sharpness, horizontal curvature, super elevation, intersection radii, all those sorts of things. This book addresses. It's been around for 75 years, but this is the latest edition. So then the state of Connecticut kind of puts out their version. It pretty much refers exactly to everything that AASHTO recommends, but there are a few state standard examples. So this is another really critical design manual from the Department of Transportation, Highway Design Manual. And even though it's called Highway Design Manual, there are chapters on local rural roads. So those are more of the type of standards. We're not interested in the subdivision regulations, design of interstates or freeways. This again mostly deals with the geometry of roads. So then when we start getting into the construction of roads, then this is something you see referenced in your regulations, the wetlands regulations, and probably on every set of plans you see in the construction details. This is the Connecticut Department of Transportation standard specifications for road, bridges, and incidental construction. So this tells you what properties your gravel has to have, what properties your bituminous concrete has to have, how thick should your gravel be, how should it be laid, how many tons should your roller weigh. So we have these guides for the geometric design, and this is really the construction. Now this is updated like every 2 years. So right now they're on to Form 818. So that's what you hear referenced all the time. Conduct Form 818. So that's what this is, construction standards for roads in Connecticut. It has like pipes, guide rails, signs, all those kind of things. And the reason why I wanted to show you these, since we're meeting live, it's good to have visual aids. And these documents are referenced as standard documents, that, the engineers should be referring to when anything in the subdivision road standards that is unaddressed, maybe something that's not used very commonly, then the engineers should go to these, these base guideline documents. In the Form 818 has specifications, for riprap, topsoil, processed aggregate. So probably anybody who is designing roads that would come before this commission would have these 3 documents in their office. They'd also have the Condot drainage manual, which is just as thick as that. And we also have access, well, everybody has access because they're online. Condot puts out actually excellent standard drawings. They have different divisions. They have the highway division puts out a bunch of drawings. The traffic division puts out a bunch of drawings, and they have a lot of sidewalk ramp details with ADA. They're now up to 8 full-size sheets of details for ADA ramps. So anybody can access those, and those are great, great standards. So in addition to reviewing, these guidelines, I also reviewed multiple towns regulations, towns similar in size and near the location in Connecticut, and I kind of further looked at towns that had revised their regulations in the last 10 years, because old regulations do become obsolete. Even something as simple as like bituminous concrete, which has been around for ages, within the last 5 years, it's switched from using Marshall mixes to what they call super paved. So you want to have your standards be up to date. So this comparison document, which I believe you all have, it's not part of the regulations, but I think it's really interesting background, what other towns are doing and what AASHTO recommends. And so, this is something interesting. It has on the left-hand side what Thompson's current regulations are. On the right-hand side, what the proposed road standards, draft could be. And in the middle is some various times. And so when we go through the regulations, this, you might want to say, well, how do you come out with that, or how does that compare to other towns? This is a really good document for that. One thing you will notice at the bottom, Thompson was the only town that had only 8 inches of subbase, which is your lower base of gravel under your roads. All the other towns have 12 inches. So that's a suggestion. That's just one of the suggestions of Thompson. Another change is actually a sidewalk width. ADA is huge, and it used to be, if you had a sidewalk and you had 3 feet of clearance between like a utility pole and a retaining wall, that was considered adequate. Now that has changed to 4 feet, so the recommendation for sidewalks is 5 feet wide now, and that's something that's AASHTO and Condot is moving in that direction. So. For you. In looking at all the other different towns' regulations, I did try to come up with something that was comprehensive, but yet concise. And so using the language that would be clear to both professionals and everyday citizens. I mean, there might be a few examples of terminology that would mean one thing to engineers and maybe not exactly the same thing to the average citizen, but this section is mostly geared towards technical road standards. So it's actually kind of more important that it be understood in the industry of how it's done. I believe everybody has a copy of the Appendix C, road design and construction. So this is, what was in believe I submitted it, like 3 weeks ago, and I don't know exactly when it was included in your packets, but it pretty much follows your format. Appendix C, road design and construction, and happy to go through that in whatever level of detail you think is appropriate. And then I also kind of added a bonus section at the end on Appendix D, requirements for road acceptance by the town, because I know that that's always a sticking point to make sure that if it is going to be a public road and it's going to be accepted by the town, that there should be an agreed upon procedure to get that accomplished. So I thought that would be valuable to include that. It's a great deal. Free to just delete it, Appendix D. Okay.
The dead end road can be used for two-way traffic, one or two-way. One way should probably be deleted off of it, but dead end road, you're not gonna go back out the same way.
You found what something that Tira and I actually went over today. It should be, if it's a dead end road, it should be the loop portion, not the whole thing. The loop portion could be one way.
I don't know, I read through this today and that just stuck out at me.
You're right. Okay.
And another thing, but I think it's more for the regulations later on about utility lines. All of them having to be very. People go over regulations.
I mean, do you want to go through the different sections? What's the pleasure of the commission?
I think Mr. Hill's got a question as well.
Yeah, first off, thank you for doing this. It's very time consuming. Reading your memo to us, you did say the draft section is not just a revision of existing regulation, is a complete rewrite,
That's
which
correct.
I fully agree. I read through this. I did have one question on section 4B cul-de-sac. Should not exceed 2,000 feet. Also shall serve not more than 20 lots. We were talking about subdivision regulation, keeping that 1,000 feet. and 12. So if we accept this outline that you've, this complete rewrite, that means that we would have to change our subdivision regulations to accept the 2,000 foot.
So that, I mean, that would be a change that the commission would suggest in here, one way, or, one way or the other.
I mean, I'm not objecting to it, it's just.
Right, we would want the
we have
consistency
to make
between
sure
the,
it's reflected in our subdivision.
correct.
And I would have to go back and look, Alvin, to see where we are with the current draft. That may already be in the current draft, but I haven't looked at it
I don't
in a
remember
while because
discussing
we've been,
2,000.
yeah.
The comparison sheet is useful to see what other towns do as well.
When you look at these other towns, obviously you took in the topography of the towns
Yes,
that are similar to.
yes. In some towns, the regulations are just so old. So yeah, for an example, right now, Thompson and Putnam have 1,000-foot cul-de-sac maximum limits. Killingly has 1,750 foot maximum limit. Granby, 3,000 to 4,000 foot maximum cul-de-sac. Woodstock, 2,000 foot cul-de-sac. So it's not, 2,000 is right in the middle of the graphic. Community, so.
Thank you. Are there other questions for David at this time?
My question for Bill would be, it wouldn't matter, not matter. It wouldn't, we could put it in, say, the reg where they could fit whatever the situation is coming up. 1,000 foot cul-de-sac or 2,000, so we don't have to be. Like you said, 2,000 normally, one up there in here is for 6,000 and everything, so it would, depending on the situation, we could change that.
Yes.
You don't have to have it as a.
Absolutely.
You
There's
know.
judgment, there's absolutely, judgment, professional judgment, knowledge of the area. For example, somebody were to say, well, we want a one-way road to be 11 feet wide, and I can look at some standards and say that couldn't meet the recommendations recommended by ASHTO or conduct, but the length of a cul-de-sac is not something that's addressed in either ASHTO or conduct. They leave that to the local community. And in fact, it even says, right in the ASHTO geometric design guidelines that you should have flexibility and consider, different
That's
other
what I was looking for.
elements, because they don't cover everything. This,
Well, it could also
the towns in
depend on-
Connecticut are different.
It also depends on, say, whoever the developer is, where he feels that he could use a little bit more to gain what he wants with a cul-de-sac or a dead-end road, depending on how many houses.
Well, typically, the town would have a regulation for that, so they wouldn't leave that up to the developer.
So if he came in and asking for that, we could consider.
Based on what, based on the regulation,
Yeah.
it would be stated in the regulation. This way, yeah, so, just as a reminder, right, these are, standards that would be attached to part of the, this is part of the ongoing subdivision regulation project that we're working on.
What I think is ASHTO categorizes terrain as level, mountainous or rolling. So for this part of Connecticut, the ASHTO standard would be for rolling terrain.
Mr. Hill, did you have another question?
Well, I was just wondering, should we make a motion to approve this outline or do this at another time?
Yeah, I think this will get rolled into the work we're doing
Subdivision, right.
on the subdivisions in the subdivision. Mr.
But
Rice.
just for Janet, that design speed, you have down 35 miles per hour for collector roads. What's the reason
The
for,
reason that
is that when the developer is designing the road for that type of speed we're recommending? Because we don't set speed limits.
right, what it affects is stopping sight distance, and particularly at night, because if a vertical curve is really sharp, it's dangerous at night because your headlights, like, you might miss a deer or an obstacle in the road. So by defining a speed limit, then when you look at your design guides, that tells you how gradual the curve has to be so that you have sufficient reaction time that you can brake and avoid that.
Okay.
So that's the purpose of it.
I was really impressed reading through these. I go back to the evening we were discussing this on Zoom, and just looking at the number of things that we discussed and didn't have the right numbers and didn't have the expertise on how to do this. Want to commend you, as far as I'm concerned, it was super. You saved us 6 months' work to get this done. If we'd done it ourselves, we still wouldn't have had it right.
Thank you.
Janet,
Mr. Rice.
sure. For the pavement markings, you've noticed a guide sign shall conform conduct standards. Is there some kind of other identification that Joe out there can look up rather than go on the website, just go on to Connecticut standards? In other words, I want to see what that is. There a specific number?
Well, the conduct has a catalog of signs, and they're based on the Manual of Uniform Traffic Devices, the MUCTD. And so you can go on, and actually, as a matter of fact, today I was on the conduct site looking at the manual signs so that I could specify the exact sign number for a crosswalk sign for another municipality. So you look up the sign number. So sign number 41-3265 is for a 30 by 30 inch pedestrian.
But how'd you get onto the website to get that? Did you just punch in Connecticut dot standards?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You just punch in, con dot sign cat, standard sign catalog.
Or that. You,
Or
MUTCD.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's the
If you remember that.
uniform Traffic devices, that's nationwide, that's why no matter where you go in the United States, you know, a yield sign is a yield sign, but they're like more general, and so the conduct sign catalog has the item number that if you were gonna purchase it from a sign manufacturer, you would give them back. Give you that.
Just that we're specifying a current edition. If I want to look it up, where do I?
So for whatever it's
Yeah.
worth, John, when I create the draft that gets posted online as a PDF, I can drop a hyperlink into
Something like
whatever
that
the
would just
edition
be
is.
helpful.
Yes.
8818 or whatever it was.
2020 or 2021, they kept that one pretty up to date. Some of these other ones, like this highway design manual, it says the 2003 edition is still the latest, but it has revisions up to 2020. So it is good to have as amended and not
Right.
the date.
We don't have to change it every time. Right.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Foster.
Janet, for the, Ray kind of touched on it, the underground utilities, because it's in the town right away, should we have do other towns have a construction standard for utilities that's gonna be a town accepted road?
No, because usually the utility company has their own standard and they won't accept it.
Okay.
So usually whatever utility company it is, it's their standard.
So I'm just thinking, limiting the cross sections, cross-cutting roads with electric service, phone on a town road, so then we have to get, obviously have to get dug up at some point if there's a repair or. Limiting the different utilities taking different paths.
Oh,
Because it's on a town accepted road, on a private way, it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
Just something to think about.
I mean, if there's a specific standard that you want, like all the utilities to be under the shoulder instead of underneath the pavement. I mean, there are some more like highly developed cities that will have specifications that like, this side is the sewer, this side is the water, this is where the utilities are going. Here, since we don't have that many other underground utilities besides drainage, it's usually kind of left between the developer and the utility company. There's kind of plenty of room within the 50-foot right of way. So they put them in after coordinating where all the pull boxes are gonna be.
I know the building office has their own standards. I didn't know from your experience if other towns had something, in the.
Not the smaller towns, that kind of is a segue into some standard details. I didn't, reviewing other towns' standard details, I didn't see.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Blanchett?
No, I just think, this is great, but she has to finish. Should we authorize her at this point to develop these?
I think that's what she's about to go into.
Oh,
I mean, I guess
okay.
it's worthwhile to know what they're talking about. I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so most towns have typical details that are bound in as part of their subdivision regulations, and they're also useful for the Public Works Department. And in fact, my office got a call from Thompson's Public Works Department last week asking if Thompson had these somewhere. And so they don't yet, but typical examples are driveways above and below the ground, intersections, how you handle the radiuses in the sidewalks, various samples of cul-de-sacs, like if you have one with an island and without an island, then you would have potentially one of each. This was an interesting one from Woodstock. They show an oblong, and you can just imagine that you can't describe this in words without probably taking a whole page. So that's why the details are very helpful. Typical cross sections of the road, the curbing, where the joints should be in the sidewalks. It's concrete or bituminous, two different sections. So these are highly recommended.
Those will be in our regulations anyway.
Well,
No.
if they need to be created,
What's that?
they need to be created in order to be in the regulations.
And they will really help with your interpretation of the regulations going on. It makes Cindy's life a lot easier because this meat and not just look at the detail.
And so, Mr. Rice.
Well, I think it'd make it easier for the highway superintendent, director, or whoever.
Sure.
That, you know, we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago about the snow.
Mhm.
You know, you get in a cul-de-sac, is it large enough to pile the snow up on the edges without putting it on somebody's lawn? No, so if it's in order, I'll make a motion to have J&D Engineering compile this, what do we want to call it? Standards,
Standard details.
standard details for road construction.
Second it.
The motion has been made by Mr. Rice, seconded by Mr. Blackmer to authorize J&D civil engineers to create the standard details for the subdivision regulations. Is there any discussion on the motion?
already
It's been
been
made and
seconded.
seconded. Mr. Rice.
I think, well, Mr. Rice. I think this whole package can deal with all everything that describes, part about, you go to cul-de-sac, see diagrams and everything, this whole thing here, I think should be part of that, because now it gives us a better reference to add it to thing as well. Verbiage thing, because when I was just looking through this and myself and everything, you did a very good job. I commend you for it, because you being a guy out there putting this stuff together, going by your detailing of how a cul-de-sac should be built, the radius and everything. This here, put all this verbiage right away and all that stuff, I think should be added to it. But it's amended in-
Remind me, Mr. Rice, I think you can probably help. When we contracted with J&D earlier, did they proposed a quote and then we approved it? Is that how it
Yeah.
worked
That part,
last time? Is that how you
but
would?
that didn't include this.
Right, no, I understand. Saying, is that the process we would like to follow
You know,
in this?
well, if we authorize J&D to do this, this is getting the commission's authority to,
Follow up.
yeah, get it done, get it done.
Great.
And I'll figure out where to get the money.
You're a good
That's what I
guy.
was alluding to, Mr. Rice.
I can give
I'm
$10.
doing it
We'll sell the old tables and see what we got for them.
We'll have a yard sale.
We'll take 10% of all of our salary.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing that, a yes vote will authorize J&D civil engineers to create standard details for the subdivision.
No.
For the road construction standards.
So,
Well, the road
Well, yeah,
construction
for
standards live inside the
subdivision.
subdivision
Yeah,
regulations.
for the road construction standards specifically. Mr. Blackmer.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
John Rice, yes.
Dave Poplovsky, yes.
Over here, yeah.
Dave Williams, yes.
Gonna be like the, Mike Gerber, yes.
Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Anything else before we close item 9A of new business?
So I just want to be clear, the commission does not feel it's particularly necessary to vote to have me add it into the draft, because this is one of the last sections.
Not at this point. I think we're gonna put it all together and approve the whole thing at one time.
Okay.
Because I'd like to have more time to go through this.
I will add it to the draft accordingly, and then you guys, I'll
Thank you.
send it out to everybody for comment.
Thank you very much, Janet. Item 9B, the Planning and Zoning Commission 2023 scheduled meeting. Can you believe it? We have submitted proposed scheduled meetings for 2023. Can be acted upon if the commission sees fit.
I'll make a motion to,
Second. Good.
make a motion to accept the,
Yeah, we'll discuss. Mr. Rice, please continue. We're not, if you choose not to.
accept
Okay, motion has been made to accept the
the meeting
proposed
schedule as submitted by the secretary,
2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting schedule as submitted by the secretary,
recording set.
recording secretary, seconded, I believe, by Mr.
I will
Poplawski.
second. Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, so the, yeah, the 27th, if you do notice, that December 27th is a Wednesday. Fourth Monday is in fact Christmas Day.
Probably won't be well attended.
Yeah, yeah, it's for 2023. And that's, I mean, there is no fifth Monday, right? And so we've done that. Yeah, I mean, I raised my question, but I don't know if there's a better alternative to the 27th.
Past you've had it on the third row, third month. I'll move it up.
As long as it's posted.
Yes, you have it.
To make it easier.
It'll be the 18th of December. Which is
I
not-
think after Christmas is easier than before Christmas.
I agree with that, I do. So the 27th is good with me, it's 2 days extra.
As long as it's posted the way it is.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, a yes vote will approve, a no vote will deny or, yeah, reject, I suppose. Ms. Langlois.
Sally Langlois, yes.
Mike Kruger, yes.
John B. Lane, yes.
Jane Salty, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Alvin Hill, yes.
David Plesky, yes.
John Rice, yes.
Randy Blackmore, yes.
Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Mr. Hill.
I would like to make a motion to have a under Article 9 C, I'd like to spend some time with some handouts for the commission tonight.
So Mr. Hill
Agenda
Moves.
9C.
moves the amendment of the agenda to include item 9C, new business regarding
Some handouts,
about,
freedom of information, and planning and zoning bylaws I've rewritten.
all right, so the motion has been made to amend the agenda to include item 9C, freedom of information and planning and zoning commission bylaws. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Krogel. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Rice.
If you're gonna change anything in the bylaws, it has to be noticed at one meeting and action taken the next meeting.
These are just handouts. No decision tonight.
Okay,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, a yes vote will amend the agenda, a no vote will keep the agenda as written. Mr. Blackburn.
Randy Blackmore, yes.
John Rice, yes.
David Plesky, yes.
Alvin Hill,
Ray Williams, yes.
Jane Salty, yes.
John B. Lane, yes.
Mike Kruger, yes.
Sally Langlois, yes.
Joseph Brody Brown, yeah. Mr. Hill, item 9C, freedom of information and planning and zoning commission bylaws.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Alvin, you need one of these?
I've got one. Okay, first one is the,
So it was just gonna be a handout.
Yeah, these are handouts. You can read them.
Started
I don't
talking.
have to say anything, that's fine.
That's right.
I'm just
I'm
handing
gonna
them
listen
off
to
on-
you. Just, it's a handout.
We gave them
That's
this
it.
afternoon.
Yes.
Alvin, have a next, Alvin, one for the secretary, please. Okay,
Dave.
thank you.
Oh, there's two different. Yeah, we got one more coming.
I get it. You didn't- Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here you go. No, no. Yeah.
Did you write these rules all yourself?
No.
Thank you.
Did you want this afternoon? You did, I think.
What's one that?
No, this is complete.
This is different than what you gave me
I
this
believe so.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll give you two, Mr. Rice. Bottom one, it's not with the
Did,
bottom.
Randy
You
get
get
one
one
of
of
these,
these?
Robert?
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Put you in, Alvin.
Oh, what?
Same bylaw.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah.
I'll give you the extra. if you want. I'll give you the extra that.
You need one.
Second one gives the planning and zoning at the front, goes with the side.
Oh, okay.
is this a new number or is this a consolidation of
I-
ordinances already?
I don't know. This looks very much like exactly what's already in there.
It's now, but we don't deal with ordinances.
That's right. To make a request, to the Board of Selectmen.
He can make a request.
An individual. could.
Thank you. Moving right along.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill. Item 10, approval of Planning and Zoning Commission minutes of September 26, 2022, regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll move that we approve the minutes as mailed.
Mr. Blackmer moves the approval of the minutes as submitted. Mr. Williams seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, a yes vote will approve. We know. We'll reject. Ms. Lang.
Yeah.
I'm doing yes.
Fantastic, yes.
Emily, yes.
I'll vote yes.
Dick Wolfski, yes.
John Rice abstained, not present.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
And just Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Minutes are approved. Item 11, reports of officers and staff, planners report.
Well, the two ongoing things are the annual amendments to the zoning regulations. Obviously, we just set the new public hearing date, and I will work with Gloria and Cindy to try to get a more foolproof way to send stuff in, which I don't think is going to take much adjustment. A couple of simple things. And then the subdivision regulations. So with the addition of the road construction standards appendix, I just need to go back through and make sure there is nothing else missing. I think we fundamentally have a completed draft to consider. So once we get through the zoning amendments for the year, hopefully we can then move on to get that project wrapped up so that both documents will be in alignment. Still optimistic we can bring it in before the end of calendar 22. We'll see how it goes.
Mr. Provo.
I don't know if it's in the air, but
Sure.
anyway. However, if these road regulations have just been presented, I would like to discuss the setback of accessory buildings. Have that put on the plan also, under the,
These road designs are for the subdivision regulation,
subdivision.
not the zoning regulation.
Yeah, I don't think there's a direct relationship, Mike. I think that the plan that we've had in place, which is to begin discussing them immediately in probably January of 23, based on our prior conversations, is
You know that's going to.
It-
No, not an issue.
yeah, I mean, there's no implications in the subdivision regulations for that issue.
Oh, actually, could there be? I mean, if we're talking subdivision regulations, that would be a zoning regulation in subdivisions.
Right, but whatever your standards are in the zoning regulations are what govern. So at whatever point they get amended, there's no additional change that needs to be made to the subdivision regulations. It just carries over. I promise, I promise.
Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Provo. Any other questions for the planner? Item 11B, CEO memo and report. It's done.
I just have a report this month, and the first report is the scenic road ordinance that I was instructed to do further research on for the fine, possible of a fine if it is violated. But the selectmen have decided they're not going to address that issue, so I didn't have to do any research. The first report. Second report is, I want to kind of be really brief about this. If you have certainly any questions, I certainly will answer them. But that beautiful mansion house on 20 Chase Street, they've had a couple of events there, and I've gotten a couple of complaints on the events. In the first complaint was for an event, I believe in July. I don't have the exact date in July. And the last event was October 12, 2022. And that was first one was a wedding, the last one was a cocktail reception. So I looked at their zoning permit in relationship to the calls I had gotten on both events. And the main complaint was on my report here, number F, off-street filing. And then through that, they said, look, they have a compliance to serve liquor, etc. So I did some research on the 4 sections, and I'll just take both events and combine into one because they're supposedly the same violation. The first one that the fire marshal and building inspector, according to our zoning regulations in 2012, because that's what they're under, is 2012, is supposed to inspect. I interpret they're supposed to inspect every time they have an event. And I had a discussion with the fire marshal, and he said that once they approve it, they've approved it. Once the building official has approved it, but you know, perhaps they should call each time if the event is inside, to make sure they're complying with what the requirement is for inside entertainment. Number D sort of contradicts number A. Does they have to go in at the time? That's questionable. So, and then there's the biggest complaint is the off-street parking, which in the July wedding event, there was no answer from Mr. Lozelle on all the off-street parking. But in the October, he literally had someone there instructing people to pull into the property because there's plenty of parking in the back there. And many people looked at him and said, I don't want to park there. I'm used to parking here. And this is where I want to park. And so what is he going to do? So, and then the final one was the liquor license for serving liquor on that property. He told me that the liquor department has given him permission to use the Anya's liquor permit for over there. So that's what's going on now. That part I could not find online if he had a permit for doing that over serving liquor on that property. So Janet and Ms. Lozelle and I met October 6th because he wants to add to that venue. And what he wants to add to that venue is a venues with intent outside. And as I told him in my communication, that venues on the outside are not permitted under the current, on the 2012 regulation. And he said with that venue outside that he would definitely create parking spaces in the back there. And he will put a fence up where the parking places will start. The bottom line of all of this is he is going to be coming in November. Janet is going to be doing a site plan design and would like to have the country inn permit under the current regulation. So we would, the old permit would not be in place and we would get a new permit under the current regulation. And ironically, the 2012 regulation says the country inn permits have to be, all country inn permits have to be updated every 2 years. And I have never updated country inn permit since I've been in the office here for 5 years. And there are, a few countries. Yes,
We did that for the Lord Thompson.
I can't hear you.
Excuse me, the Lord Thompson Manor.
What about it?
He's been in several times for renewal.
Not to me, Catherine. Oh,
You've been here 5 years. Oh, yes.
Andrew's been in,
Yeah,
Andrew's been in.
sure. I don't know the date, but I know I bet you it's within the last 2 years,
He
guaranteed.
was in for,
It's not this
he was
year,
in for,
huh?
he was in for something separate for a subdivision.
Yeah, but he's
No,
been
that
in,
was
I
it.
agree with
No.
John, he's been in
I'll have
for,
to check it. I'll have to check it and see. I would check and see if he's been in for 5 years. So I'd be there.
Mr. Williams?
I just want to make a remark about Pinecroft up there. We just told them guys they can't have a tent outside. And that, potential houses across the street in years to come. We're gonna let a guy have a tent down there in the middle of Thompson where, there's houses all around it.
Well, that will be for discussion when he comes in with.
Right, it's just something I
Okay.
wanted to bring up for people to think about
Bring
before
it
this
up.
year happens,
you said Minecraft?
Just a,
The one near West
the
Thompson Dam.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, the dam. It used to be Pinecroft when
Yeah.
Kosha owned it.
Well, he had the tent, we just let him, he came in for the music because he redid his bond, so he's
Yeah,
gonna
he's gonna
move
have
the
the
music
music.
inside.
Right, but then he was told that he can't have the tent outside now that he has the barn. That's
No, I think he requested that he
Yeah.
said that he wasn't gonna use the tent. He was gonna have all
So that he
this
could
And he could do the
inside.
music
keep the
inside.
music. till
Cindy,
10 or
was that,
11.
was that a signed complaint?
I have emails on it. Emails.
Is there any way
I
that
thought
we,
we,
I'm sorry,
excuse me,
John, I'm sorry.
I thought we agreed that any complaints have to be signed.
Yes, and I said, it's not something I would remember, sorry, because I just get so many complaints.
Does the email have a name on it?
Yeah, it should.
Yeah, the email has a
I'm not
name
sure
on
that
it.
you
Oh,
can
yeah.
require that.
Ms.
No.
Austin?
I don't think so.
I would like to see the complaints that come into your office. concerning things that have to do with the P and Z commission, please.
I could do that if there's time. I mean, I have not, literally had not had time in the last few months to do anything with complaints. But my time has been filled up and I finally got all the 3 folders organized to attach them. And I have since written out 1 and I have 2, this week I can do 3 or 4 more.
Yeah, I would like to see though, any complaint that comes in that pertains to the P and Z, because I want to know what the citizens are complaining about. I know I've heard from people that their complaints weren't, let's say, how do I?
Followed up on.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I want followed up on.
All
You're
right, I want to
Mr.
see
Chair.
them, please.
I have,
Miss,
you're
Mr.
absolutely right.
Mr. Rice.
Cindy, couldn't it be as simple as you have everybody's address? When you get a complaint, just push the
Send it
button and
to
send
us.
it to us. It doesn't have to be at this meeting.
No, it doesn't have to be at the meeting. What it should be, and this is my goal to do it, and obviously it's been my goal for 5 years to do it, and I did start out doing that, is to put it on an Excel spreadsheet. And
Yeah,
then
but
just
even
have
without
Excel
that.
Spreadsheet.
But if
you know,
I'm complaining to you, you got my email and you got,
Just send it on.
that just gets convoluted. It just gets
why?
confusing for me.
Huh?
Yeah, because I'm more organized than that, and just flipping out an email, sorry. Yeah, I just more.
You forward, all you do is forward the
You're
email
absolutely right.
to everybody
So I
on
have
the
to keep
commission.
track of what I forward to everybody.
Huh?
So if I put it on an Excel spreadsheet, that's a lot easier for me to get it to you. It takes less time, because I'm gonna be dealing with them anyway.
Ms. Altsingh.
As long as we get to see them, I want to see those complaints, period. I don't care how it's done, I want to see them.
What I will tell you, when I have time to do it, you will see them. If I do not have time to do it, it's because of other legal issues that have to get done for legal reasons.
I'm sorry, that's not acceptable.
Like I got building committee, I just go to
That's all I
building
can
committee.
tell you.
If a complaint comes in
Like that.
and it is to the planning and zoning, we should
No,
be able
it's
to
the
see
complaint
those.
is to
To
the
the
zoning
zoning enforcement
enforcement
officer.
Yes, but if it concerned something of the planning and zoning
Well, they all
commission.
concern the regulations.
I wanna
if
see
it's a
them, please.
legitimate complaint against the regulation.
I want to see them, please.
Let's, say,
I have time, you will get
you and I can, we'll touch base.
them.
on
Yeah.
That works for me.
We'll hire you with it.
Just forward and
Any, this is.
I don't want to get nasty.
but
You
No,
are though.
no, I don't like, Jane, I understand what you're saying, but what I'm telling you, there's 19 and a half hours.
no,
in that
no.
office. That's it.
It's 2
No,
seconds.
I
Take it,
understand
and
that.
I
So
have-
maybe we do something about that also.
That works for me. Okay, the other, one more thing on, the Chase. One of the complaints was is that the gazebo was an illegal building, and I'm going, oh, I know we discussed it. When we discussed it, and I signed the building permit to build the gazebo, because our regulations state you have to have a residential dwelling before you can do the accessory dwelling. When I signed the building permit, the notation, I believe I gave it to you in the packet, the notation said that Mr. Luzelle said he's combining both lots, the 20 Chase Street and the lot he bought next door to it. He said he missed it. He said he will get that combined as soon as possible. And I'll have that for you. So, and he is coming in next month.
Mr. Rice.
It just don't, when you say no approval from the fire marshal because somebody complained that there were too many people in the building, I think somebody, if it was having a function, if I was having a large function somewhere and somebody said this, the capacity is 80 people in here and I feel it's 90, I wouldn't call you, I'd call the fire marshal. He has the authority, not us over here. And it's the same thing with the other one, the street parking, that's a town road. That ain't nothing to do with us.
But the point is, John, is your regulations for 2012 say that he has to comply with A, B, C, D, E, F. That's part of A, B, C, D, E, F. They do no off-street park.
That was one of the
no on-street
conditions
park.
that was placed on the permit.
And that's why we're trying to pull it into the 2020 regulation. And I have told the gentleman who complained, I said, if you don't like them going on the common area there, put up signs on the common. If you don't like them parking on the street, go see the selectmen's office.
The
That's what I
church
told
owns the common, it's
them.
nothing
Like I said,
Joe
what I
Blow
said
next door.
is what I told them is to put signs on the common, and if you don't like them parking on the street, see this selectman. And it showed in July that he actually made the attempt to make sure people didn't park on the street. Because he gave me that, sent me that email.
Well, I don't know how you can, if people want to park on a town road, is to tell them, don't park here, come park in my parking lot.
So after everything is settled and done with him, he says that he's gonna have between 53 and 60 parking places. People park, and he has the signs up, parking in here, people park on the street. I get a call, I tell them to call the selectmen's office. So they have a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's a street. Parking signs that people can park.
Yeah, I mean, they're paying
There's-
taxes just like
There's
anybody else is. to
There's
park.
people parking there every day, all day long.
There's cars left there all the time.
Right, I've driven by there just when I'm around this area here, and he's not having anything going on, there's been people parked
I will tell you, I parked up there once with my trailer, I was eating my lunch from McDonald's. And some lady came up and asked me not to go onto the dirt pit, stay on the road, on the pavement, because the church does own the grass.
Right. Well, that's what I told him. I said, you don't want them, they park on the grass and on the pavement, half the town. You don't want them parking on that grass, and you put a no parking place on. Yeah. Yeah. So he just
Mr.
wanted to know, I just
Salmonella.
wanted to, sort of let you know what was going on up there, because I think, we all know that the place is absolutely.
But I think in
Thinking
the
that, Mr. Wright,
suggestions, probably like the other one is the compliance Connecticut liquor. You know, tell that person, I don't think we have the response to that to investigate that and tell them, call the liquor control commission.
Yes, what I do is I look at my soil for liquor commission. So that's an easy one to do. And I had not signed off on anything. I signed off on.
So
August,
all
but I
these
did not sign
A
off.
through H, is that's what the person complained about? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, and then the gazebo.
Ms. Alstein,
Well, my question is along the same lines. So do we know whether that permit was issued so that Anya's liquor license covers that place?
He said he's gonna find it for me. I just quickly looked online and I didn't
Did
see
you
it.
find it? No.
No, I found Anya's, but I
Yeah.
didn't find.
I mean, I know nothing about the liquor license thing, but that doesn't sound quite right.
Well,
Doesn't sound quite right.
but I
There's
think
two
Mr.
different
Wright's
measures.
point, but I think Mr. Wright's point was that that is not necessarily Cindy's.
No, I don't think it is either.
jurisdiction.
I don't think it's her job.
here's the point. He can get a 1-day liquor
Yeah.
permit.
Yeah.
So it's probably, but you know, if he has a liquor permit for Anya, he can have a
1 day.
1-day over there. Because I'm assuming it's all one company.
Mr. Blackman,
I assume that all these points are points that you discussed, and it looks like you're working toward an amicable solution on this.
Yes.
And so I would suggest that you just report back if you're having a problem. If you get it all straightened out, we don't
Well,
need to
he's
know.
coming in with the permit to do the test.
So we don't need to, the point being, I don't think we should be making any problems from our end this meeting.
Right, exactly. No, and I just sort of wanted to get you up to date and, because I don't know how many complaints everybody has or, concerning. So, yeah. He's good with it, I'm good with it, and he'll be in. And one of the things I did tell him, I said, they could put conditions on it, even though it doesn't say in the regulations, you have the authority to put conditions on it.
thank you. Any other questions for Ms.
You did pay Janet?
Item C, Town of Thompson Budget Report, September 2022. Any comments, Mr. Rice?
Other than I just shown Tara, is that professional services, this, we still have $1,000, and I thought we approved to pay Janet
We
part of
did.
that fee
We did,
for
that's definitely
1,000. I don't know
been
when
submitted.
this is through September 30th. So a couple weeks behind, okay.
Check in the mail.
Okay, all right.
Well, that's through September 30th.
Yeah.
We probably did that in early October,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just not reflected.
Item 12, correspondence. Any questions on any of the correspondence we received? Hearing-
We just if I may, Mr. Chairman, there was one of them, I think, that I was reading about the cannabis.
There were a couple about
regulations.
cannabis.
Yeah,
That was interesting.
Yeah, Woodstock's extending the moratorium
Yeah.
and Dudley is taking some action, amending.
putting the store on every corner.
Was that Mr. Plus?
Dudley was expanding or letting them,
Extending the hours, yeah.
yeah.
Item 13, signing of Mylar, Planning and Zoning Commission 20, application 22-26, Riverside Drive Car Wash. The conditions of approval are on the first page. The 6 conditions that the commission required: hours of operation, 6-foot solid screen fence. They're not all on the first page. Different pages. On the appropriate
They
page.
have them listed on that is, what you have there is what's.
Is
on
from the
site.
front page.
I copied it.
It's on the Mylar, right?
Yeah, so this is all on the Mylar, on the front page of the Mylar.
And then you go
The
in.
minimum, the maximum of vacuums, maximum car wash structure size, evergreens for screening, and the sign stating contact.
Move the chair.
Is the,
Approve the sign and Mylar.
Motion has been made to authorize the chair to sign the Mylar for application 22-26.
Second,
Made by Mr. Blackmer, seconded by Mr. Rice. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Rice?
yeah, on the Mylar, I don't see it here for you to sign.
It's in
It's in the other room.
Yeah, is there a date on it? A term of 10 years or 5 years? You did discuss that last week.
There's a revision date on the set of plans that reflects it was revised to incorporate the conditions of approval, but special permits don't expire.
Okay, there
Yeah.
was- okay, all right, stand corrected.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I guess authorizes the signature and no does not authorize said signature. Ms. Langley.
John B. Lindsay, abstain.
Ray Williams, yes.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Dave Paplosky, yes.
John Rice, yes.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Joseph Brody Brown. DBA review, no decisions were made.
No, they didn't make a decision on that. They're continuing.
Continuing the
the
public
variance, public hearing to make. November 9th? No, November 7th.
Item 15, citizens' comments.
Brenda?
If you could come just closer to the microphone.
I may have a
Address.
solution.
And just
to-
your address too, please.
Name and address.
Sorry. What am I doing? My
Your name
address?
and
Oh,
address.
Pathé Road.
Who's on first base?
North Groveland. Come on, please, I just
Right,
feel
the
weird
phone is right
sticking
there.
my butt.
The people in the audience want to hear you.
I may have a solution for your problem as well as your problem. You know, I've been told before that nobody in the town of Thompson wants to help, and I'm willing to help. So I assume you have a folder of all those complaints going back like 5 years or so since you
You
said.
can see what I have for complaint for folder, sure.
Okay, so I'd be more than willing to help you organize that, or you give it to me, I'll organize it. I can either do a spreadsheet, or you show me how you want it done, and I'll do it. You know,
Volunteer, you're volunteering your help.
I'm volunteering because
you know, it is a way to help. And if it's something that would get you guys, it would be in support of you and also in support of you. So you and I can talk after.
Can we talk after my vacation?
Geez, you sound like the assessor now. Yeah, sure. You gonna get married too?
No, not yet. No, I've been thinking about 40 years.
Thank you, Ms. Romana. Any other citizens' comments or in the Zoom audience?
Moving on.
Hearing or seeing none. Item 16, commissioners' comments. Ms. Salsi.
I have a couple of things I'd like to address. And they were actually brought up by a couple of citizens tonight. One, we were not allowed to sit in as a commission at that meeting that was held. It should not be called a P&Z commission meeting if we're not allowed to be there. Chairman, you are the chairman of this commission. You need to take control, please. If something is going to be done and called the P&Z commission, that goes under you, not somebody else. You should be the one in charge, and I'm not seeing that at all. And that is bothering me. I think that is something that you need to address and deal with. Any question and answer meeting that is being held and is concerning the commission, it should be directed at the commission members, not somebody else that is not sitting on this board and is not elected by the people. I am literally disgusted with that. We are the P&Z. We were elected by the people of this town. The people of this town, when they have questions for the P&Z, it should go to the P&Z commission, not to people that are not elected and sitting on this board. Secondly, I've heard other complaints about the bistro on Main Street. And I went through my record. I could not find where she had been granted an entertainment permit. If I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, but I would like to see where that permit was granted. She does not, under what I've looked for, there is no entertainment permit. So that has to be corrected. I'm very sorry to the people that live across the street because this is not acceptable. If I am all for business in this town. We need it badly. But when you have a situation where you are literally disturbing the neighbors at 10 o'clock at night, and there's no permit to even be allowed to do that, there's something wrong. And to have somebody that is sitting at that head table now, because I've also been told that somebody sitting at that head table also played there with no permit. So if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I would like to see the permit that was issued to her that allows the entertainment. And like I said, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I feel badly for you. This is not acceptable for you at this point in your life and where you live. Thank you.
And that is, it's literally in your front yard.
It is.
Yeah, and that I think is not correct for the citizens of this town.
Thank you.
So again, please, Mr. Chairman, check into these things. And please do not let somebody else call a meeting and call it a P&Z question and answer meeting when it is not. And you all should be insulted by this. We are the commission. We weren't allowed to be there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Salsi. Mr. Rice.
I don't know what me she's referring to, but we do, I don't know if the chairman is not available to run a meeting, the vice chairman does it.
No, that's not what
Oh,
she's talking
huh?
about. That's not what she's
She's
talking
talking
about.
about
Oh,
the
okay.
meeting on the
I thought
13th.
That's what you were,
Something else.
okay. All right,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
and then it goes down to the secretary, to me.
I'd just like to call attention to what I've brought up on the screen, which is the posted for lack of a better word, agenda, which was posted on the Planning and Zoning Commission page. Perhaps it would have been more appropriate to put it on the Planning and Development page, which would be coming out of my office.
Yes.
But you will note that it does say this is not an official meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, et cetera. This is intended for the staff to present proposed amendments to the zoning regulations and to discuss them informally with members of the public. To get to the specific concern about why the members of the commission were not there to answer questions, that is because that would have been an improper forum for the commission. The proper forum is the public hearing. That's where you receive your information. Let me just finish. I will say this, when we did the zoning regulations, the whole update, we did actually schedule that and have the Planning and Zoning Commission members there. That was during COVID. Things were a little kooky at that time. We were specifically advised by council that members of the commission should not be present because if there were enough to make a quorum, then it's an illegal meeting. And that would put the whole proceeding subject to challenge.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Hoskey?
again, and I'm going to say it very nicely and very quietly. Anything that is called a P&Z commission meeting, I understand, follows the rules and regulations. But there is nothing that states that the commission cannot have a question and answer night, not call it a meeting. If people have questions for the P&Z, it should be directed at the P&Z, not staff, not people that haven't been elected. I do take offense that somebody else was leading that does not sit on this commission. You can call it a round table, whatever you want. It does not have to be called a commission meeting, therefore it is not illegal. And if the people of this town are asking questions to the P&Z, it's our duty to answer them, not somebody that's not been elected and does not sit on this board, period. And if there's still something that you're saying, this can't be done, that can't be done, then let's figure out a way to do it. We're the commission. We are the commission. We are the ones that are to answer the questions, not staff members. End of my rant right now, and I'm sorry. We are the commission. Please do not forget that. We are the ones that are supposed to be answering these questions, period.
Mr. Chairman, I totally hear what you're saying, Jane, and I am very sympathetic to it. However, there is no legal mechanism by which that would have been possible, because as soon as you have a quorum of the commission, it becomes a meeting, and therefore it becomes an illegal meeting. Staff is able to answer questions for the public at all times, at any time. So that was a mechanism.
P&Z commission meeting.
Well, as I
Wasn't
said,
listed
Jane,
that way, was it?
as I said, Jane, on the posted, again, for lack of a better word, agenda, we do have in big bold red letters, this is not an official meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I will accept the statement that it would have been more appropriate to put it on the Planning and Development page instead of the Planning and Zoning page. I would accept that. That's fine. I would argue that more people go to the Planning and Zoning page than the Planning and Development page who are looking for information on the zoning regulations. But I would certainly accept the criticism that we could have put it in a better place to change those optics. But it very clearly states that was not an official meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the staff, the public employees, do have the legal right to answer any questions of the public at any time. And that was an extra measure that we took, not a legal requirement, because we get many, many complaints that the public does not have the opportunity to ask questions and have them answered. So this was an extra gesture that we made. I understand that you take offense to it. I understand your criticism, but there was and is no legal means by which what you are suggesting could have happened, which is why we did it in that way.
You don't even put planning and zoning anywhere on that.
Ms. Langway and Mr. Williams.
Susan, we did that specifically, if I remember, because people weren't, we couldn't listen to the public unless we had like an
A hearing.
impromptu or hearing or whatever. So we would have to not be here to continue to make it a legal meeting, but then they could be here to ask questions, right? So do we not want to have them ask questions and we can have a legal meeting and we can speak for the public without without us hearing anything that they have to say? I mean, that doesn't seem like it would work for them, but we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. So if somebody voted for me, I would listen to what they have to say. It might not be everyone else's opinion, but I would be speaking to the people that put me in this seat without hearing anything from the public. And I don't think that we wanted that, but we certainly could go back to that way to stop any confusion or people feeling like, I mean, we're not transparent, we're too transparent, we show up, we don't show up, you're here, you're not, I'm not really sure what's happening, but it doesn't feel like it's really part of a community team, or it doesn't work for me that way, so I'm not sure how to stop it so it's not an issue, but it feels like we can't get it right. So, hey, Sarah.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
To me, it seems like with these regulations, we're pushing to get everything done. Now, for this question and answer meeting, shouldn't we should have been able to just put out in the newspaper 2 different weeks that we're having this, and then it would have been a meeting and we would have been able to be there. And then they would have been able to talk to us, and then we could have, interacted with the people that were here. And, we just would have been an extra 2 weeks. It just seems like we're always pushing everything so fast to try to get everything done. And then, and it seems like every time we do it, and, what's it been 4 times in the last 5 years that the regulations have been rewritten? That's from pushing, doing things from the hip instead of getting information from the people. And, and then us chewing on it and then going to do our regulations.
So if I may, I would just respectfully disagree with your conclusions from that, right? So the annual revision is something that was by design, that we wanted to have the opportunity to look each year at, as we rewrote the regulations in 2020, what were unintended consequences that had occurred during the year that had come up to us, something that wasn't functioning the way we wanted it to. And that's the purpose of the annual review. So that was by design, not, as you suggested. I would disagree with your suggestion that was because things were done too quickly. And I would also say that the timing wasn't the issue. We could have, if it were possible, according to the way meetings are run, if it were possible to have the Q&A with the Planning and Zoning Commission, we would have had the Planning and Zoning Commission at that meeting that evening.
I don't see why we couldn't have, if we had the 2, if we booked it as a meeting and we had it in the paper 2 weeks in a row, then we should have all been able to been there.
Because as a public hearing, right, the public hearing is not for a give and take of questions.
Well, you can make it into one if
Yeah.
you wanted to. You
That's
can do.
not the intention of a
No,
public
you
hearing.
cannot.
It's not the design of a public
And then
hearing.
we need to figure out how to change it.
That's the issue. There is no, according to Robert's rules, there is no mechanism to do so.
Well, Robert's rules is a guide. It's not.
It's not law, it's a guide. Mhm. These are just things, Mr. Chairman.
And I hear your
Yeah.
frustration, Ms. Halsey, I do.
And I want you to take control of your position, please.
I appreciate the advice, and I think, well, I appreciate your thoughts, Ms. Halsey, especially just you. Any other comments at this time, Mr. Williams?
Yes, and I always hear council, and everybody listens to council. We have experts in our town for wetlands. We have experts in our town, the farmers. We have experts in our town helping with the regulations for the roads. And we got an email saying that we're not listening in our subdivisions for the wetlands. And before we vote on our regulations for this stuff, we should, people, our wetlands agent, our farmers, for what they recommended for as of right animals. We got one farmer sitting up here. I'm a half-ass farmer from way back when. I do know some stuff. There's a lot of people that don't know nothing about farming that's gonna be voting on this stuff. So you should really look at what these people represent, what they put up to us before we go and vote on their regulations. Just.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Because it's a part of the public hearing, I can't fully address it here, but because we had to cut off the public hearing the other day, I was not able to respond to some of the stuff that was in those email comments that we received, some of which is specific to what you just mentioned. So at the public hearing, I will enter that into the record, and I think it will help clarify that very specifically about the wetland stuff, because there was some important information missing from that email memo that I read in. And hopefully that will be helpful to you.
Any comments on this time?
I just have one, I just need to understand what the protocol is for how we had a meeting that wasn't put in the paper, or that was put in the paper that never made it. And so is there a way do people check that? And then could that whole meeting have been not even had because it wasn't made public? Because there's people that knew about the meeting, that it wasn't in the paper, but had everybody come and show up anyway, and then waited for somebody to bring it to our attention. So shame on the people that knew there was a meeting and didn't take the time to call the town and tell somebody, so that we could have put a note on the door saying that the meeting wasn't gonna be held because it didn't make the paper, and saved a bunch of people sitting here waiting for the one moment they could pounce to say, this is an illegal meeting. They knew it all day and they never took the time. So that's what I'm talking about. This isn't like,
Excuse me.
this
I
isn't
told
the
the
town.
commissioner.
I'm not saying anything.
I
I'm not
told
even,
the commissioner.
I'm not even saying you. There's other people that knew that the meeting, there was other people, I feel like I'll be yelling at you. There was other people that knew there was a meeting and they didn't take the time to do that. So if
It
you
is
want to be part of,
permissible
if
to
you want to
make a
be part
point
of a
of order.
community, then be part of the community 100%, not just half but when you feel like you're gonna gain something. Is what I'm telling you. Do you get it?
Gentlemen, it is permissible to have a point of order, and that is reprehensible what you just did, because it was shared with the commissioner several days before the meeting. You
I
ought to
told
take
the
that back.
Commissioners-
Commissioners,
Order, please,
That
order,
is outrageous.
order,
talk about a point of order.
Take control.
order.
This is the-
I am taking control right now, Ms. White.
Go for it.
Are there any other comments at this time? Cindy, I would ask you, as Ms. Stacy was speaking, I was writing notes. Is that something that you could please look
Oh,
into?
I've already checked it. I talked to Jill. We're gonna have to check the minutes on when we gave her a permit, so I will do that. I might have done it when I was just looking at my notes here, since I have notes here. But I did talk to Jill, and Jill said that she had gone outside when the music was playing, and that she didn't feel that it was overly loud to the neighborhood. And that's what she told me. And I really can't remember if I got back to you on that or not.
He never came. to
Order,
the-
order, please, order, order.
Are we on the citizens?
Order.
I did not give her a permit.
Cindy.
Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's follow up on this quickly
Yeah, I
this
will.
week, please, because
I'll follow up
obviously,
more on it.
obviously,
And I'll look for my notes and see what I
you know,
said.
it's, that's not the owner saying she didn't think it was loud enough on the isn't
Right, I
how we're
understand.
going to work.
I understand.
I would also like to thank Ms. White. I apologize. We on the meeting Thursday evening. I was driving at the time, and so it was not safe for me to chair the meeting. But I do appreciate that we should have been explicit about that at that time. So I do apologize to the commission and to the members of the community for that. But I do thank Mr. Blackmore for stepping in at that point. That No further commissioners' comments. Our next meeting is November 28th, 2022. Our next regular meeting on November 28th, 2022, 7 PM in the Marlson Lake Community Room and by Zoom as well. Item 18,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:40 PM.